second lesson in the last unit, the idea of solving absolute value equations. So anytime you see solving, you're thinking about algebra. Solving means you're going to end up with something like x equals an answer. Okay, we're going to start by solving using graphing. This is not a method you will use very often because it's not very accurate. I will expect you to be able to do this on the test, but it's not the method I would use first. Okay, if it's going to be a solve by graphing question, normally I would expect you to be able to use Desmos to do it with technology. It's more accurate. If it's one where I'm going to ask you to do it by hand, I would think that the answers will be pretty simple. Okay, one way that it might work out, and you've had one of these in the past, is I give you the graph and I just say, what is the solution? Okay, so take a look at this graph here. This graph is the equation y equals the absolute value of 2x and the graph y equals 4. Okay, it's asking you to solve this. What values of x make this statement true? So what we've done is we've taken the 2x and made it into an equation, and we've taken the 4 and made it into an equation. Okay, and so we're saying where is 4 equal to the absolute value of 2x? Well, here's the line y equals 4, and here is the line y equals the absolute value of 2x. Where do they cross? Right here at these 2 points. So the solution for this is x equals 2 or x equals negative 2. Okay, it's what value of x will make it true. Not what is the point, what is the value of x. Okay, so let's try this one. We're looking for where is the absolute value of 3x minus 6 equal to the equal to 6. So let's graph these two lines. So we're going to graph this, and we're going to graph this. Well, that one's easy. Here's y equals 6. Okay. To graph y equals the absolute value of 3x minus 6, remember you would first graph y equals just 3x minus 6. So y-intercept is negative 6, and the slope is 3. This line would look like this. Okay. And I see that the slope is 3, so I keep going up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1. Okay. That's not the absolute value, though. To do that, we're going to have, here's your critical point, so this is where this graph is positive. Okay, and this part over here, if I flip it upside down, it's going to look like this. Okay, so what is the solution here? Where do these two graphs cross y equals, where do the two graphs cross? What are the values of x there? So the solution would be x is 4 and x is 0. Those are the 2 points. By the way, if you said this, that would be incorrect, right? That's a point. I'm giving you 2 values of x. That's why I use set brackets. Okay, so that's the first one. Let's try a couple more. This one says solve each equation by graphing with Desmos. So we're going to get out Desmos. If you need it, it says where necessary, give the solutions to the nearest tenth. If there's not a solution, explain why. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to try first to graph without Desmos. So I have y equals 3, and I have y equals the absolute value of 3x squared minus 3. Okay, this will have a vertex at 0, negative 3. It will have x-intercepts at plus or minus 1. Okay, so We go to 0, -3, go to -1, +1. Here is the original parabola, but I want the absolute value of that. So at the critical points, I will keep the positive part, but this negative part will become positive. Okay, so that's the absolute value. Now let's graph just y equals 3. So that will look like this. Y equals 3. So what are my solutions? What values of x do the two graphs cross? Well, they cross in 3 spots. I'm not sure what the first one is. I can see the second one is at x is 0, and I'm not sure what the third one is, because based on my graph, I can't figure out what this point is. I also can't figure out what this point is. So we could use decimals to figure that out. Okay? That's possible, but you're not going to get decimals on the test. So let's be honest, you're not going to use decimals. It's not going to be something that you should need to do. I mean, if you use decimals, you just put it straight on the program and it's going to give you an answer. You just click on the point and you're going to get the answer. That's not really a skill. Okay? More importantly is for us to understand, look, if I graph these two things, there are 3 solutions. I need to be able to find those 3 solutions. Okay? So I'm going to say here, we're going to do that algebraically. Okay? That's what I would like you to do. And we'll figure that out momentarily. Let's just try to graph one more time. So before I do that last graph, take a look what's going on here. In this case, there were 2 solutions. In this case, there were 3 solutions. In this case, let's see how many solutions there would be. Okay, so I'm going to have to do the graph y equals -2, and I'm going to have to do the graph y equals the absolute value of 2x squared plus 4x minus 1. Now, we could figure this out. We could figure out what the vertex is. The vertex is going to be -4. It's going to be -1. If I put that in here, I'm going to get 2, take away 5, so -3. So the vertex would be here. It's a parabola that opens up. But really, that's not the message here. If I take a parabola like this, and I take the absolute value, it's going to end up being something like this. I have no idea where it is, but let's just leave it like that for a second, because I want you to look at this graph. Y equals -2. Is there any way that this is going to cross? Is there any way that an absolute value graph, which will all be positive, all up here, is there any way that's going to cross with a graph that says y equals -2? You should know that there's no way that something in here, when I take the absolute value of it, will ever equal -2. You should be able to see that and recognize it. Okay? This one will have no solution. Now we can say that this way. That's the null set, the empty set. Or if you prefer, you can just say no solution. Okay? So, let's talk about solving graphically. Okay? Graphically, it only gives you approximate solutions, so I don't want a graph. I want to solve algebraically. Algebraically is going to give me exact answers. Okay? To solve absolute value equations algebraically, use the definition of absolute value to create 2 linear or 2 quadratic equations. Here's what that means. Okay? It means that if I take this, what's in there could either be the positive version or the negative version, because when I take the absolute value of it, they both turn positive. So to solve an absolute value, we're going to have sort of like option 1, which would be x plus 8 equals what's in the absolute value, or option 2 would be to say x plus 8 is the opposite of 4x plus 6. Okay, now just as a quick reminder, here's why. If you have the absolute value, what could go in there? Well, and if we want it to equal 2, let's say, that means x could be 2, or it could be negative 2. In other words, the opposite of 2. So that's what I'm saying here. I'm saying this is what's inside the absolute value. Either it's going to be the positive version, or it's going to be the negative version. Okay, and we're going to do that for each one of these questions, every time we get one. So this is just algebra now. If we do a little bit of quick math here, bring the x over, this is going to be 3x on this side. Take away the 6, you get 2 on this side. Divide by 3, x is 2/3. Over here, if I bring the negative 4x over, so let me just write one more step here. This is negative 4x minus 6. So that means 5x is equal to negative 14. So x is negative 14 over 5. So I would like you to then put the solutions in a set like this. So those are my two solutions. Okay? Let's try another one. So what I'm going to say is this here can either be plus 4 or it could be negative 4, right? So let's write it that way. It's a little bit of a different way of doing it. So what's in there is either 4 or what's in here is negative 4. Okay, and let's solve both of those. If I take away 4 here, I get 0. If I divide by negative 3, I get x minus 2 is 0. Take the square root. X minus 2 is square root of 0 is 0. So x is 2. Let's try this one. If I take over the 4, it becomes negative 8. So now if I divide by negative 3, I get 8/3. If I take the square root of both sides, this is going to be plus or minus the square root of 8/3. And then if I take the 2 over, I get plus or minus the root of 8/3 plus 2. Okay, so my solution would be 2. And then, now, I'm going to leave that like that, but your answer key is not going to look like that. Okay, what is it going to do? Your answer key would say, okay, I can simplify root 8. That's 2 root 2 over root 3. Then it's going to rationalize that, so you'd get 2 root 6 over 3. So I multiply the top and bottom by root 3. And then it's going to say, let's put that all over 3. So instead of a 2 there, it's going to say, let's go 6/3. So that's the answer it would give you, and that would be plus or minus. Okay? So you should get, that's great practice for simplifying a radical. All right? We'll stop there. Okay, and then the multiple choice as well. Okay, good luck with that.